Welcome back to the episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake along with Scott, and we are headed down to Bardstown today, and we are sitting in one of the most exquisite rooms in all of bourbon, the Bourbon Vintage Library at Bardstown Bourbon Company. And we're joined by Nick Smith, Head Distiller, and some other titles that I just already forgot. So we're just going to move past that. So Nick, thanks for joining the Bourbon Lens.
Thank you guys for having me today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super excited. I think one of the things that's so beautiful about Bardstown is you're given the opportunity for people to get Kentucky bourbon.
Yes. Right.
And then with the acquisition of Green River, that Kentucky bourbon production is going to go higher and higher. So, you know, as someone that people may not know, Steve Nally may be the face that people know. Talk to us a little bit about how you got into whiskey, because it's important for people to know who Nick is before we just jump right into, you know, the process of making whiskey.
Yeah, no problem. A little bit about Nick Smith. If the accent doesn't give it away, born and raised right in Bardstown, Kentucky, University of Kentucky, agriculture economics degree.
Hey, you know what? Me too.
Ag Econ?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about,
Let's
man.
go,
yeah.
baby.
You know, couldn't make it in business school, so Ag Econ,
Yes.
Closest one to it, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you were as fortunate enough as I was that could not find a job after getting that degree. So like all of us college students love to do, move back home in mom and dad's basement.
Amen.
Yes. And being in Bardstown, bourbon capital of the world, looking for jobs. Where did I apply? Every distillery in the area. Fortunately, small town, went to school with a girl whose mother was HR at Jim Beam. So I applied to every job and texted her and said, please call your mom and beg her to give me an interview. So got my start at Jim Beam Distillery. On the ground floor, I was in the union as a distillery relief operator. So with that job, I trained in all aspects of distilling. That was water treatment, granary, dry house, wet and dry side, coke boilers, gas boilers, and then mashing and distilling. And I would cover the main operator's off day. So 24/7 operation. I would work swing shift, first, second, third shift all in the same week, covering whatever days those guys could be off.
Whatever they needed.
Which was a crazy schedule. But like I said, living in parents' basement at the time, I did not want to be there. So I worked as much as I could. But doing that, I learned the full distillation process, what all it took to make that good juice. Had some great mentors while I was there that helped me out, and doing a good job. Having that degree, they moved me up to company side. A lot of them told me I was like the first union employee in maybe 15 to 18 years that jumped the fence from union to company, because it didn't happen very often. Doing that, I moved from the Claremont facility to the Booker No facility. So, you know, same processes, but a bigger workhorse there, pumping out that Jim Beam white label worldwide. So after that, did that year and a half, about 5 years at Jim Beam, and then started here at Bardstown Bourbon Company day one. So I was one of the original hires here back in 2016. So actually just celebrated 6 year here at Bardstown Bourbon Company. So I now have more years here than what I did at Jim Beam. So, and celebrating our bourbon, getting ready to turn 6 years as well this month, in Bourbon Heritage Month. So starting at the ground floor, you know, first getting here, I was like, this is going to be a cakewalk. We're running 4 days a week. I can see the entire distillery standing in one spot, one cooker. You know, I said, this ain't going to be too bad. Well, it did not last very long. So as a new company, there's nothing in place. So very lean. There's only 15 of us. So I kind of was shipping manager, safety manager, quality manager, distillery manager, you name it. Wore a lot of hats as we built this place. There's no forms. There's no documentation. Was given the password and sign in for our TTB system where we put all the info in. I was the first person to sign into it, so no one even knew how to work it. So a lot of YouTube videos and things, but it was building this place, and that's kind of what helped me get to where I am now. Was I was hired in to be the second shift supervisor, but I worked about 18 hours a day, and I worked the first shift and second shift so we could get this place up and running to full speed. And it really speaks wonders to the team that we had here to start, that from hire date, we were full speed production within 2 weeks. Yeah. So that's very rare for a brand new startup system. And from there, we doubled capacity 8 months in, went 24/7 operations. That took us from 1.5 million proof gallons to 3 million proof gallons. 1 year after that, we doubled capacity again. That took us to 6 million proof gallons, and that was adding another cooker, another 36-inch column still, and 16 more fermenters. We did some efficiency projects the year after that. So we finished 2020 at 7.3 million proof gallons. So within a matter of 3 to 4 years, we over quadrupled in size for our capacity. Where we're at today, so I was instrumental with the expansions, bringing the customers in, the custom distillation, writing the mash bills for those customers or helping them write their mash bills, trying to make the most similar product of what some of them are making at their facilities. And currently, we are going through a 50% capacity increase right now that we plan to have on for 2024. So if you saw the construction going on out back, Busick Construction Company has not left here since we broke ground early on. So it's constant growth. We've actually purchased 300 acres on the other side of the road right here for more warehousing and everything as well for our growth. So it's a good time to be in the bourbon industry. And if you follow us, as you mentioned earlier, we have also acquired Green River Distilling now. So a great team down there, great facility that we'll be able to add to our custom collaborative distilling program as well.
Yeah. I think that's really exciting that you all just continue to grow, and you hit on a lot of things that we're gonna go back through a lot of that. And the distillation process is really unique here because you're doing so many custom things. A lot of people, know MGP, right? And they do a lot of that, but it's really secretive, right? You're not getting to see what that operation is, but you know who MGP is. And here you celebrate that, right? So as someone that's been on the ground for and writing those mash bills, me and Scott own a company here, and we want to build a mash bill. Like, what's that process from like, hey, we come to you all and we know there's a minimum, right? Mm-hmm. And there's, we need to produce X amount of barrels. Like, what is that process to start that creation?
Yeah, and it's different for every customer because every customer is completely different. We have some customers that could be craft distillers, craft size. Some customers that, have a lot of money and want to get that brand started that don't have a brand or a distiller or anything yet. Customers that are some of the world's largest, but just need that extra 1 million proof gallons or whatever it might be to hit their goals. And then also some investors, it takes money to make money, right? So bourbon has become big for some investors. If they can lay down those barrels and be able to sit on that for so many years, 4 years, they could quadruple that value when they go to sell those barrels later on. So it's really what type of customer you're dealing with for how that process will go. So for a craft distiller, they come in and it's what's in their best interest. Is it better to expand their facility, their labor force, having to build warehouses and store that juice where, they're not right here in the bourbon triangle of death to where, having these warehouses in their small hometowns and things, people aren't used to that. They're used to seeing the mold on things and things around here. That's just normal day of life. Yeah. So it's in what's their best interest. I have one customer that what we make for him in one day takes him 1.5 years to make. So like I said, it's better for him. He could come here in one day and do 300 barrels and have that put away in the warehouse all at one time where it takes him 1.5 years to make that. So even if he expanded, that's so much more work for their facility. And when they come in, a lot of times they might want to run the exact same stuff they run at their facility. So they will show me their recipes and things that they do, and then I will show them what I think would be the best way to run it on our equipment so we can get the most similar taste profile to what they're producing at their facility as well. And then some of, the bigger customers, the ones that know exactly what they want, that know their exact specifications, exact mash bill, temperatures, every single thing like that. Our system is compatible enough to be able to plug all that in to get that same similar product. They could send their yeast strain in, their proprietary products that they use at their facility and no one else. And every barrel that gets produced goes directly to them. So, and then with our ISO certifications and things like that, we have those certifications to be the clean food safety facility, everything like that. So customers don't have to worry about auditors coming in to look at our facility to make sure that we're doing the right things. We have those certifications to prove that. But it's a really fun process, and I love it so much because I get to do something different every day. Yeah. A lot of news out on Maker's Mark here recently. Yeah. I feel like I could be bored there. You know, that's one recipe over and over and over again, which is outstanding. But here, that's what gets me excited about coming into work every day. I've done 9 recipes in 7 days before. I've done 60 different mash bills in the 6 years that I've been here. So that's the funnest thing ever, that I get to work with all those different grains, trying different spirit types. A lot of customers could have master distiller consultants or a head distiller consultant that works for their company. Those guys come in and I get to work hand in hand with them. It could be some of the biggest ones. You know, Jim Rutledge is a consultant for some of our customers. So, you know, that's exciting that he's coming in today, and I get to actually talk distilling with Jim Rutledge all day long and make their product with him. So that's what's really exciting and makes my job one of the best jobs in the world, the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine, like, there's titans that have left distilleries and that are now doing the Jim, you know, Rutledge, you know, path, and a lot of them end up, I feel like Bardstown does a lot of their stuff. So, like, working alongside of that, you know, I don't necessarily get starstruck by people in bourbon. It's not because they're people in bourbon, but just like, you know who the icons are. But like, to have someone like that, or, you know, get to work hand in hand with Steve, you know, that's got to be, you know, really exciting for you as someone who's younger, to be able to jump in and work with those icons and just kind of breathe in all of that experience, even on these new processes that.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, me and Steve work great, and Steve's taught me a tremendous amount of information on distilling. And, you know, from my past in Jim Beam, you don't see a whole lot of Jim Beam wheat bourbons, right? Yeah. So, you know, when I first came to Bardstown Bourbon, I had never really dealt with wheat or anything at all. And Steve now is, you know, known as kind of the wheat king. So that's where I actually got wheat is one of my favorite things to run now. And I have a sweeter palate as well. So I also like to drink wheated bourbons and things. So Steve has completely flipped me over to the wheat side of things and taught me a tremendous amount about that. So he was instrumental in me being able to make those recipes and continue making them. And there's some of our best ones that the consumers will be fortunate enough to get a try next year. So. Yeah.
Well, and that's coming up soon, right? So you mentioned that the distillate's getting to be 6 years old. You know, the big secret, and we'll talk about what we have today. The big thing has been the blends, right? You all have really focused on those, but your all's whiskey is, you know, slated to come out sometime in Q1, Q2 of 2023. And so there's four different products that could potentially be released at that time. Yes. There's a rye, a wheat.
We're looking at a possible bottle and bond wheated. We're looking at a high rye bourbon. Looking at a rye whiskey that's actually going to be a finish as well, and possibly doing some single barrel releases as well. Yeah. So on some different recipes. So looking at a lot of different stuff, and it's exciting for us. You know, we've not too many startup newer distilleries wait 6 years to release their first product that's a standalone by itself. And that's where our blends and the series, the Fusion, Discovery, Collaborative, and Distilling only series that we have had for all these years has been great to get our brand, the hype and recognition that it is, and growing our brand. And the Fusion has highlighted some of those recipes that will be standalone by themselves to come to get the consumer excited about that. So to have the leeway of the contract distillation, collaborative distilling to get a cash flow positive day number one, to be able to wait for our stuff to be damn good and ready to want to come out and not have to rush or do, you know, a flavored moonshine or release a 2-year-old, or everybody is sitting there waiting, year four, let's dump this barrel on exactly year 4 date so you can get that revenue in. I mean, think of the amount of debt you would go in if on this size of production, if you waited 4 years before you got any revenue coming in. It would be astronomical debt. So the fact that we have created award-winning blends already and have put a name out there for ourselves before anybody even gets to try a 6-year-old standalone product from us has a lot of buzz and excitement around the standalone Origin series that will be coming out next year.
Yeah. Blends and finishes too.
Yeah.
Can never forget the collaboration series.
Yeah, and we continue plan on doing those. Those will not stop. So we plan on being a collaborative distillery for the future. You know, as our brand grows, yes, we probably will make a few more barrels for ourselves versus some of our partners, but our distillery is also growing. That's not going to take barrels away from our partners. So it's great for us, and the Discovery Series has gotten a lot of really good hype. We definitely plan on doing that, and that's showing our capabilities as a team to blend. Blending's gotten very, very popular now. Finish is very popular now, and you can go out there and find really good bourbons all over the place, and then show your capabilities to blend to turn that into a great bourbon. So,
yeah, and so speaking of Discovery, right? So right now in the shop, Discovery 8's available, with Discovery 9 close on its tails.
Yes,
coming
Discovery
out.
9 will be released this year as well.
So, with that being said, like Discovery 8, like, the components that go into it, it's world whiskey really at this point. It's not just Kentucky bourbon. When you think of this and these components, someone who's making the whiskey, what's it like to be able to try different distillations and different, proofed barrels and aged barrels that make up these blends?
That's what really gets the wheels turning in my head. And that's how I learn things is trying the different stuff and blending it. And Dan Calloway is excellent with doing all of our blending. And he's taught me a tremendous amount on blending, because I'd never blended before I came to Bardstown Bourbon Company. I was always an operator distilling in the distillery. I was never working with finished product very much until I moved up here to where I was able to just go out and actually take samples out of a barrel to try them myself and do things like that.
The more fun side of the distilling process.
Yes, it's definitely a fun side of the distilling process is the taste testing side. But yeah, so the blends, trying the different ones, like you said, this one right here is just considered a blended whiskey because it has some Ontario Canadian 100% corn whiskey in it, and very good sweet corn whiskey. And it's not every day that's something that I'm going to be trying, but when you do pick up that flavor and then blend a little bit into that something else, how much just a percentage or two changes that makeup of that bourbon, it's crazy, and it's really fun to play with.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really interesting as someone who got to compete in the World's Top Whiskey Taster last year, which didn't happen this year for a variety of reasons. Blending is difficult.
Yes.
Like for people that think that like, hey, they're just pumping out blends to pump out blends. Like, no, there's some mad scientist stuff that happens with that. And it's, while Dan may get some shine, it's a team effort from a blending perspective, because I'm sure he works up a few things and it's like, Nick, try this, Sam, try this, whomever, like, let's, drink.
And we've always done it as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times early on when we had a very big stock of source bourbons to choose from, of course, it's getting harder and harder to find good old age source bourbons now. When we had that stock, it was open for the company for anybody could create a blend based on what we had in stock. Of course, we would put max percentages on it so we could stay at the same price level that we have been doing everything. You can't put 80% of an 18-year in there. It's going to take that price up a little bit more. So everyone could create their own blends. And then it was all kind of March Madness bracket style on picking them out. Dan would lead all of it, so he was the only one that would know what was in the glasses, and we would usually do 5 at a time so we wouldn't overwork our palate. And it was literally blind for everybody in the room. We do complete silence, score it 1 to 5. Highest average moves on. Once everybody turns their papers in, then we'll discuss them, and the highest average will move on. We could do this for multiple different rounds, and then once we have the highest average from each round, it's on to the next round. The highest one moves on. Once we all finally agree that, okay, this one is the clear winner, then it goes down to proofing. So we'll do that at cast. Then it's all still blind after that. You'll do cast strength. You'll take it down a couple proof points each way, all blind, and we come out with a team the best one that we can. So now that stocks have gotten a little lower on the source and how much you can do, we all don't get to create any blend we want anymore. So it's, but it's still a team effort. Dan leads the way, definitely, but we'll all sit up in the classroom and go over them and taste them and make sure that we're all putting a good product out together.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really cool about it. Even though you all have grown exponentially, the team, aspect of Bardstown is always something that I've been impressed with, because there's a lot of moving parts. and getting to meet some of the leadership, over the years, like you can see that, while they want to make money, it's still about the team. Like the team is definitely part of that. There's always that working relationship to be a part of that.
The team is the reason that we've been able to grow and are what we are today. And this team, the one thing I love about this place, it's, you don't have that big corporate atmosphere. It's family oriented. I get to see our CEO, CFO, VP of sales, all those high end executives. They come in here every day. So it's not like in a different corporate office, I might see them once a quarter or anything like that. It's a family atmosphere. Yeah. And that's what's great about it. And there's not one person here that will say that's not my job.
Yeah.
We all want to help each other out to better the company and the brand, and we have fun doing it. We're all a big happy family here and get along good together, and we'll help our brother or sister out to accomplish whatever they need to for that day.
Yeah. No, and I think that's what's really exciting, and I think you see that in Bardstown, right? And I think as we talk about Kentucky, I'm going to say Kentucky Bourbon Heritage Month, but it's just Bourbon Heritage Month, but we're going to celebrate Kentucky bourbon. What's that mean to be from Bardstown and see the growth and be a part of, the company that actually is Bardstown Bourbon Company, which is kind of funny that they're the only one that was like, oh, hey, this would be a good idea. Name our distillery.
Put it in the name. Yeah, definitely a good idea on that one. And, it's really special. Like I said, bourbon was not always my go-to until I really got in the industry. I was actually, I'm a pretty basic country guy. I was a Busch Light beer drinker. And
some Busch lattes?
Yeah, lattes it is, and still do drink those. But and my family grew up they're the Anheuser-Busch distributor here in Bardstown, Smith Brothers Distributing. So, beer was always kind of in the baby bottle and in the background. I was that kid wearing those frog T-shirts, growing up and everything like that. But yeah, so it's really amazing to see, and the Kentucky Bourbon Festival celebrated in September for Bourbon Heritage Month. So it's really great, and that festival's changed last year. Now it's under new stuff. It's not just open to everybody; it's ticketed. And I thought last year's event was excellent. It's really set up for the bourbon enthusiasts now. And being able to sample from all the different distilleries that are there, and they have tastings and they have different speakers and different stuff like that. It's really keyed for the bourbon enthusiasts now, and really doing great. But yeah, it's a big part that right there where the festival's at is a little Catholic school that I went to. So right behind it. So it's really neat to have that here in Bardstown and be born and raised here in Bardstown and part of this bourbon community that's a big family. And to get to celebrate that this month in September for 30 days, drink a different bourbon every day, celebrate everybody for this month. It's not just about us here in Kentucky. It's about America. This is, what was the year? I don't know, 2007 when they announced Bourbon Heritage Month, and it celebrates the 1964 Act of Congress to make bourbon is America's native spirit. So that's what we're celebrating, America's native spirit, not just Kentucky. So everybody make sure to celebrate everyone's bourbon this month.
Oh, there we go. He's my kind of guy.
Yeah. Tell my wife that I can drink 30 bourbons in 30 days.
I'm sure you've got 30 different bottles at your house you could choose from.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I have more than that, and my wife would like to get rid of about 60% of them.
Well, there you go. If you drink every single day, it'll get rid of more of those bottles, right?
Yeah, and then when I go to my doctor's checkup, they're like, why is your liver function so low right now?
Your liver function's off. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
It was Bourbon Heritage Month, don't you know?
Don't schedule your doctor's appointments in early October. That's for sure. Yeah, gotta have a detox.
Yeah, give me to November. So it's super exciting, and we'll talk a little more about Bourbon Heritage Month here at the end because we're gonna do a little celebration drink. But the next thing that you poured for us is your collaboration series. You've done a variety of them. I've been lucky enough to go to see the big Bardstown Bourbon Company bus show up and try a variety of things. The Ferrand was one of my favorite. The Fercolin is great. And I can't think of, there's a gazillion of them.
The apple brandy was
thank you.
Tops.
I appreciate that because I'm not a very big apple guy whatsoever. But that was one of my favorite ones as well. Because the apple did not overpower. It was, and I was not expecting it because I was like, oh, apple, are we sure? And it was one of my favorite collaborations that we've done.
Really?
Yeah.
So I don't think I've had the apple brandy one. So I may need to find a bar.
I'm trying to think of when I tried.
Like I said, I have a sweeter palate. So apple, it was just the right amount of sweetness that came through on that.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, tops for me, I think from just a blend perspective, I thought the Fercolin was just perfect because it balanced the Irish whiskey and the bourbon in there really well. You got the bourbon up front, you got the fresh single maltiness on the back, and it was just blended really, really well. I thought the stocks did really good together. However,
why didn't you say that before I did the pours? I would have poured that one for you instead.
But what I will tell you,
that's the post show, right?
that's the post show. No, but what I'll tell you is we have the collaboration series. It got a little flack. We're not going to worry about that. But you partnered with Plantation Rum, so I'll do this the PC way. You partnered with Plantation Rum to deliver the collaboration series, which is a very nice, delicate whiskey that I think gets better each pour. Like the first pour is a little drying to me, but like I think I did a review on this not too long ago. I got a media sample, and it went from full to halfway, like super quick, because it gets better the more it goes, because that rum starts to really shine. Yeah.
Yes. And that's what, like I said, a little sweeter palate. I feel like I get a lot of that bourbon on the up front, but a lot of the sweetness on that rum on the back end. You're exactly right. The first drink, slightly, I feel a little dry, but I find myself going back to it a whole lot more, wanting more, and it's better and better each sip that I take. And it's one of my favorite ones that we've done too. And this was a pretty long finish on this one, I believe, that we did as well. I believe a 22-month finish on this collaboration. So that's one thing that sets us apart, as well as how long we do most of our finishes for. They're not your 3-week, 6-week, or 3-month, 6-month. We like to go for 18 months if we can, but that's another delicate process as well, just like blending. You can have peaks and valleys in those finishes, so you have to check in on that product very often to pull it at the right point when it is at the peak and not at the valley.
Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. And this one is just, I think, unique because it does get so much better over time. Like this one really stood out. And this one's also interesting because it's Tennessee whiskey in the blend.
Yes.
And so I think that like medicinal, like minerality note really pairs nicely with the rum. Like I think those two work really together. Bourbon may like overpowered it. The Tennessee, I think, really kind of goes along with it. That, Lincoln County process, so to say, that gives some of that mellow marshmallow notes.
I get like a banana note.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like tropical bananas.
Yeah.
Like rum.
Yeah. It just comes out.
Tropical.
Yeah. Well, what's nice is this is one I think you could, be okay with, even though it does carry a hefty price point. I mean, it's a luxury bourbon or whiskey. But you can be happy throwing this over a big cube, letting it kind of dilute down. This would be really great in a rum and Coke.
And we have actually another rum finish that will be coming out next year too.
Oh, really?
So, and with a different partner. So, so you'll get to try another rum finish with us next year as well.
Oh, that's exciting! But there's a big one coming out that's championed for you all. Did a lot of award winning, about to hit in Bourbon Heritage Month, which is the Chateau Labaud 2.
Yes.
So, are you excited about this new release?
I'm excited, and I think the consumers are definitely excited about it. So this was one that actually got probably more hype than any of the other collaborations, but not until it sold out. So it was, the sales, it was kind of slow. When we released it, we thought it would have been like most of our other ones. It just kind of went slow, but 1 week went by and then it was gone.
Yeah.
Once people found out about it, it literally went like that. And you had people coming in offering $2,000 a bottle for the one that's on my, historic shelf and stuff in there. And trust me, if I had extra besides the one that I like to keep for myself, I would give it to you for $2,000.
Oh, yeah.
But I do not have any. So it has gotten a lot of hype. Probably like I said, if you look on the secondary market, all the tater hunters and all those people out there, I'd say it's probably the highest one on the secondary market of our collaboration releases. It's got a lot of publicity and hype on it. So a lot of people excited about this one coming out. This one had a 88% of a 10-year-old in it and 12% of a 12-year-old in the blend that went into those Armagnac barrels. So a lot of hype. It'll be a Bourbon Fest release, like you said, so it'll be a really good one.
But speaking of that, like it is going both ways because isn't Chateau Lebeau doing some stuff with Bardstown Bourbon Company barrels?
Yes,
like
they're
on the
doing
back end?
some of our barrels as well. So a lot of the ones that we've partnered with, it goes both ways these days. So once we dump some of our barrels, we'll send them to them that they get to do some finishes off with our bourbon barrels, and then they send us their barrels when they dump. And so that's what's great about the partnership. And we celebrate that with them. We don't just put Bardstown Bourbon Company all over the label. We celebrate them too. Their name is right there on the label. Their decal usually etched on the back of the bottle, so you can see that through there. So we like to celebrate them as well. So one thing that has set Bardstown Bourbon Company apart from some others is the transparency that we do have here. So it's refreshing to the consumer that I know we're letting we have a source bourbon in there. A lot of people don't want to do that they can look on the side of our Fusion or Discovery bottle and know that exact makeup. Yeah. And one of the cool things is you could go out and find a lot of those products yourself off the shelf and see if you could play around and do that blend or anything that could be fun to do at home. So the transparency, no missed secrets, legends, anything like that. The facility is literally almost all glass. You can see everything.
You see straight through it.
Yeah, so that's what's really set us apart, and people love about us is all the information we give them on the product that they're drinking.
Yeah, no, and I think that's what's really cool is every one of them has that side label, so you know what the ingredients are.
Yeah, mash bill, percentage. Yeah, state of distillation.
And with most of the source stuff, through NDAs, unfortunately, we can't put right on there, oh, this came from one of the major distilleries, exactly whose it is. But technology these days, easy Google search. We give you the state, the age, the recipe. You can find it out pretty easy.
Let me Google that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a few people that don't know like certain recipes like at this point. And because there's only so few of those, you can start to delineate who they are pretty quick.
Like the mysterious Jim Beam mash bill?
Yeah. And the mysterious wild turkey mash bill. Both of those are mysteries, but you drink enough nutty bourbon, you'll know if it's Jim Beam or not. So, one of the other things last year was the Bardstown collection. And when it comes to like partnering with the other main distilleries, to be kind of like a part of that, like, what does that mean to you all being a young company partnering with a Jim Beam and things like that?
Yeah, and that's really cool program that gives right back here to the city of Bardstown. A lot of the money and proceeds that go from the Bardstown collection all is fed right back into the Bardstown tourism to grow that as well. So last year was the first year doing it. Dan Calloway headed all that up, did an excellent job, unbelievable. And last year we had 5 distilleries that participated. So, we wanted to do, I think it was about 2 barrels per distillery. They could choose anything that they wanted. So all the bottles looked the exact same. So there was no competition there. It's no one's actual stock bottle that they use on their regular stuff. So everybody agreed on the bottle. The front label's the same. The only difference, there's a little label at the bottom that actually shows what distillery that came from. So it was really neat. We've actually got more distilleries for this year that they're going to do. So it got a lot of hype, and it's so good for the community. It's really great for the community. There was lines at every distillery that participated for when the release happened. It really was outstanding, and I hope it continues to grow and we get every distillery that's in the area involved.
That's pretty cool. Like, I love the fact that Bardstown, the city, is partnered so well with the distilleries to be Bardstown for Bardstown, right? Like that's pretty cool. And I'm just looking around because we're in the Vintage Library. So there's other things I see now.
I catch myself like staring off in the corner, like, whoa.
Yeah, like there's that. But then I look to the top left, and one of my favorite whiskeys that you all have ever produced is the Muscat Mistel.
Oh yeah,
it's like peanut butter and jelly. Like, it's just yumminess.
The old square bottle one,
the
or
old
the double?
The old square bottle one. The white label.
Gotcha.
I
like that one as well. I liked it more than the black label, the regular American brandy.
Yeah,
and that was our first ever releases right there with Copper and Kings, and really beautiful bottle.
Yeah.
Not the bartender's favorite one to grab. Now, if I was going to get in a bar fight, that's the one I would probably grab. Definitely heavy.
It's like a brick.
It is.
You got more square footage.
That was the problem. It became hidden on a bar. So that's what we knew instantly, and that was actually glass and stuff left over from our founder's previous ventures. So we knew instantly we needed to change our design and everything on that.
Still is hidden on some bars.
It is still hidden on some.
I just found it.
Look.
You can find it still.
I found it in Bowling Green, and there was a pour left, and I'm like, I want that, and I would like the bottle, and they're like, why do you want the bottle? Because I want to take a picture of it because you can't find it. And I just remember, like, you have moments, right? And we're lucky enough to have some moments here in the distillery. And Dan's showing us around about 2 years ago, and it's in like a mason jar looking thing. It's not in that. And he's like, you got to try this. Like, we're about to put it out. And like, he pours it and we're like, oh shit. And then we like go and we try some stuff in the vintage library. And we're like, that's not as good as the Muscat Mistel. And like, I feel bad saying that.
We did the double as well. The double Muscat Mistel was one of our releases. I don't see it up there on the shelf, but it was the purple label. If you ever saw the purple label. It was I think one of the more expensive bottles we've done. It was $300 a bottle, I believe. So it was a really good one, but very small allocation because we didn't have a whole lot of it. So we might have only had less than even 70 cases of it, I believe, total. So
I'm going to have to call Dan and be like, hey,
I missed this one.
Do you have a sample somewhere? Yeah. No, but the collaboration thing is really cool. But like, I do love the fact that, going back to our point about the collaboration, the collection, the Bardstown collection, just getting people involved, like, and bringing that together. And it's always been, distilleries are always helping distilleries. And I think sometimes with Kentucky Bourbon Festival changing to really that bourbon enthusiast versus that festival, like showing that, hey, these distilleries are still for the community.
Oh yeah.
Even though the festival's changing a little bit, because you want to drink, you want to have that opportunity. And so I think that's really exciting. And so, we've done a lot. We've covered a lot of ground, but we have a toast to Bardstown and Bardstown Bourbon Company. Nick's hooking us up here. I'm not going to ask you, the main ingredients.
It was too long ago. We've had too many series for me to remember the exact blend of this one, but it's a good one.
We're going back before this was a red label. We're going to when this was a green label, actually. So Discovery 1. And a lot of people may not have thought about this one. I think Bardstown got a lot of hype when it turned red. Like, that's when the brand started to catch a lot of steam, I think. That's my opinion. And so it's been 3 years since I drank this, 2.5 years. And so I'm excited to dive into this. This is a great ode to, Bourbon Heritage Month, right? Because this is where you all got started, and
going back to Discovery Series number 1.
Yeah.
So the first series to celebrate a little Bourbon Heritage Month.
Yeah. So when you think about this, 6 years later, like, what's that mean to you seeing the distillery then and now?
Oh man, it is so different. When I first started here, we worked out of a trailer out back. We didn't even have offices yet. So the distillery from then to now, it is unbelievable, man. Yeah. And it's hard to believe that it's actually already been 6 years. That's most distillers, it's the hardest part of the job is the wait. I've waited 6 years for our first product to come out alone. Well, the wait wasn't that bad because we've had all these other products that have came out and all this other great stuff and the cool mash bills and all the different stuff I get to do everything every day. The wait was not bad at all. So to see the growth of this place and where it started just 6 years ago to what it is now, it truly is unbelievable to see. And there's maybe about 8 of us original hires that were here that have seen it all the way through, and all of us every day are like, it's unbelievable what we've accomplished in just 6 years so far.
I mean, hell, I was here like 4 months ago and it looks totally different.
Yeah. Every time you come, there's usually something new.
I was here 4 months ago, and then before that I was back here in December. So 10 months ago, 9 months ago.
So that's why you got to just keep coming back, because there's something new every single time.
Something new to discover every time.
There is. And I think that's the most interesting thing, is that there's always something new, and there's always a new rick house.
Yeah, definitely a new rick house. But what we like to do here at Bardstown Bourbon is push the boundaries of innovation. Yeah. And yet still honor the art and tradition of making bourbon. Yep. So that's what we try to do here every day. And we're going to continue. It's a never stand still attitude. We're going to continue to push those boundaries and grow we want to be one of the big guys and looked at as one of the best distilleries in the industry. So that's our goal here. And I hope I think we'll definitely achieve it. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to close out the podcast is just that you all are continuing to push the envelope and continuing to find ways to partner and collaborate and celebrate bourbon and whiskey at so many different levels across your distillation process and your finishing process and blending process. So, Nick, we're really appreciative of you joining the Bourbon Lens and taking time out on your busy Friday and celebrating Bourbon Heritage Month with us. So raise a glass to that and cheers
guys.
to
Thanks
this.
for having me, and happy Bourbon Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So.
And thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens here in the Vintage Library at Bardstown Bourbon Company. Make sure you follow Bardstown at Bardstown Bourbon Company on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. And you can also go to your favorite podcast listening app, hit subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. Greatly appreciate it. And last but not least, go over to patreon.com/bourbonlens for exclusive opportunities to hang out with Scott and I and a variety of other people. We have our first Patreon review coming up from one of our members going on live on bourbonlens.com. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.